What are your beliefs about heaven and hell?
Well, there is a heaven. There ain't no hell. Let me discuss that. Okay. So let me give you a little quick history here. Heaven is also called nirvana. It's the God plane, the nameless plane. But I look upon heaven as the higher planes in general. That would be the 7th to the 13th plane. So let me tell you why the concept of hell. And I'm going to give you scholarly research. This is not my research. This is the research by people with really thick glasses in laboratories. Okay, you know what I mean? And sticking their nose in tomes books. Okay. I'm going to try to make fun of them. They're actually very competent people. So this is the history of mankind and hell. Hell is used by every religion because it works. It scares the shit out of people, and it gets people to go to mosques, temples, and synagogues, okay, and pay tax-free dollars to people telling you how sinful you are. That's what the concept of hell does. If you take away the concept of hell, people sleep late on Sunday, have brunch, and watch a football game or a baseball game, whatever. Okay, so let me tell you the concept of hell. Before 3100 BC, there was no concept of hell. Every paleontologist, every archaeologist will tell you, every culture, every civilization, nada. We've had writing since at least 3600 BC, maybe 4000 BC with the Sumerians. So they document things, okay? All right, so what happened in 3100 BC? This created the concept of hell. Egypt is the first state, or as I call it, the first state. And you had Lower Egypt, which is actually Cairo today, which is the Nile flows from south to north. And then you had Upper Egypt, which is today, which is where Ethiopia would be in the old days, or Sudan today. So Lower Egypt and Upper Egypt was like Vietnam. They were killing each other. They were just, wars all the time, civil wars. And that was because Atlantis occupied northern Egypt, or Lower Egypt as we call it, and Lemuria, a much more spiritual ancient civilization, occupied the southern part of Egypt. Anyway, the mystery school priests, which controlled the government, this was a theocracy, they said, hey guys, I'm going to use my New York accent to explain what happened. Okay, so I'm taking artistic license here. Hey bros, we got to get together, man. We're just killing each other. This is bad shit, man. Let's get together. So they decide to form the one state. So how do you do that? Because Egypt in the northern part, or Lower Egypt, had 500 gods. They worshiped Bast, the cat goddess, and rhinoceroses, alligators, everything. The southern part of Egypt, Upper Egypt, they also had 500 gods. So if you add one more god, who cares, you know? Hey, tomatoes, tomatoes. Ra, of course, being the sun god, was the main god. So the mystery school priests, which they were very smart, but they were nasty. They were evil people. So what they did was they said, look, we're farmers. We know that during the day, which was considered to be good, that's why Ra, the sun god, was always worshipped at different names, but they always worshiped the sun. So we're going to call the daytime good. Nighttime is evil because number one, it's dark. It's a desert climate, so it gets cold at night. And what comes out at night? Big cats, scorpions, and snakes. They kill you and eat you. So they said, let's create a god. We'll call it Apophis, symbolized by the serpent. Think of Genesis here. And where does Apophis live? It lives in the fires of hell. That's a quote from the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the oldest religious scripture on the planet. So Apophis lives in the fire of hell, trying to get the souls of people and that are evil and trying to control you for eternal damnation. In other words, they just made it up. They just put their hand on a rock, just like therapists do. I'm going to create a new form of therapy. Put your hand on a rock, look up at the sky and say, I'm a Jungian, I'm an Adlerian, I'm a Freudian, okay? So my point is, hell is just made up. Now, how did it come to civilization today? The Egyptian Book of the Dead documents it. There was actually a guy named Moses in the old days. We get this from Manetho, an Egyptian Heliopolis historian from the 3rd century BC. Moses wasn't the son of God any more than we are, but he was a cool guy. He was a politician and a scribe and a prophet. Anyway, so Moses studied with Egypt. Okay, obviously the only book he would know about would be the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Moses was a chief priest to Akhenaten, the first monotheist, by the way. Think about that. It wasn't the Jews, it was Akhenaten, Egypt, about 1350 BC. And when Akhenaten was killed in the 17th year of his reign, Moses was supposed to succeed him. Okay, but he didn't. So there was a civil war, and Moses basically said to the Egyptian people in Memphis, the northern part of the country, let my people go. You can have Egypt, we want to get Israel, okay? So that was the origin of the Jews. So they took the monotheism from Akhenaten and the concept of hell, mentioned in the book of Daniel, and Wisdom of Solomon is one little quote, but the book of Daniel makes everlasting content as a simple, as a little side effect. And then, of course, the Christians, the original Christians were all Jews who just wanted to, eat pork and have sex with Gentiles, so that was the early Christians, okay? And they used the concept of hell in Revelation. They went crazy with it. By the way, Revelation does not mean hell. It means just an unveiling, okay? That's what the word revelation means. You got to look it up, okay? So, and then, of course, the Muslims, they copied it, and the Mormons, everybody copied the idea of hell, which was Egyptian. Egypt gave us the first monarchies. Egyptian women in ancient times had community property rights. No other ancient civilization did that. So we owe a lot to Egypt as far as our civilization and the way we do things today. There ain't no hell. It was made up. There is the lower astral plane, but you can get out of that. You can't get out of hell. It's eternal damnation by definition. But the lower astral plane, you can get out of it anytime you want. So that's where, but if you say it's eternal damnation, now you have a captive audience because people are suggestible. If you don't think people are suggestible, just look at the history of Nazi Germany in the 1930s. You can see why the Germans, which are very conscientious people, very industrious and very smart, and they worshiped Hitler as a god. Think about that, okay?